Hello, everyone. I see people joining us and more information on how to get confidence, clients, and cash flow. We will get started. I will introduce my host or my colleague who would be joining me. This is Rick Diaz. Rick, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So Rick has experience in business management. I've been in the business field for a long time. And how I met Rick was a very interesting meeting. I met him 3 years ago. It's already 3 years, Rick. I was just looking at when we first time met at the dates. I was like, oh, it's already 3 years. So a little
It
bit about,
flies.
I know, right? Time flies. And a little bit about Rick. And about me, I have a medical aesthetic clinic in New York City. I've been also a founder of ITS Academy that teaches new aesthetic injectors joining into this field, how to do it all together, and kind of teaching in Botox and fillers with marketing side and business management side of handling the business, because learning the skill of injecting is part, or I should say, Rick, introduce yourself a little bit, tell about yourself, and I could tell a little bit more about you, and kind of let's get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Rick Diaz. Thank you again for having me tonight. I am the co-founder and CEO of a company called Tier 3 Media. We focus 100% on aesthetics practices. So you can see below in that photo a bunch of other med spa owners. This was something that we put on in Las Vegas, where we trained a bunch of different med spa owners how to grow and build their business. And we have about 160 roughly clients across the US and Canada. And it's literally all we do all day long is work with aesthetics practices. And many of them have grown to 6 and 8 figure businesses. We work with a lot of amazing companies. So like ITS on the training side, Cynosure Lutronic. I just actually spoke at one of their events on Friday in White Plains, New York. JSIS is another new company, Cutera, Cartessa, Synergy Aesthetics, and a lot more that are in our industry.
Let me explain to our audience how we met and how you helped us with all the background that you have. I run a practice since 2016, and my biggest challenge was when I opened the practice, the marketing aspect of it. As I said, I've been trained more or less well in aesthetics and knew what I was doing as an injector, as a provider, but I had hard time. And we, I think, changed 6, if I'm not wrong, different marketing agencies until 3 years ago. I finally met Rick, and the reason why I kept him was our first conversation. He was the only one, when I told him that I already used 6 different companies, he's like, okay, let's assess what happened and why they were not successful. Like, he wasn't the one who was throwing everybody under the bus and saying like, everybody's bad, we're the best one, and we will be helping you to grow. He was the one, it cannot be that 6 different companies were so bad. Maybe there's something internal that you need help with. And he was absolutely correct. He helped me to get the call center. He helped me to set up the whole aspect of the internal business. When marketing leads coming in, someone is there to handle them, to take them on, and that made a big difference and success. And that's why I'm staying with him for 3 years now. He does marketing for us for the clinic side, for the school side. I'm very grateful for everything that you've done for us, Rick, and I'm hoping that you would be able to share. You're very knowledgeable, and you are very kind, and you share the knowledge that you have, and I would like you to give some information to our audience and share all that knowledge as well. So thank you very much for everything that you do. I feel like your connection got a little bit better, so go ahead and continue.
Good, awesome. So I have some exciting things that we're going to cover tonight. I like systems. Systems really help my mind, and I found that creating systems for practices helps you kind of organize things, because there's so much different information out there. Now, the reality is that there's not just one method that is ever going to work, right? That's for anything, right? But there are specific fundamentals that are true no matter what style it is. So here's an example of like style versus dynamic. A style would be, I like cookies or I like brownies. The dynamic is, I like sugar, okay? So it doesn't matter whether you like brownies or cookies. The reality is that there is a fundamental process for making any business grow. And we're going to go through those fundamental processes. And then at the end, I'm going to show you our style that really has helped hundreds of other practices out. So there's something called the 3Cs framework, and we're going to go through that in a bit. So I'm not going to dive too deep in this. The decided patient journey, which is vital to every single business, the MIT revelation, pricing confidence, and then at the end, we're going to talk about a 30, 60, and 90-day plan to make sure that your books are full. Whether you're working at a med spa and you just want more patients on your schedule, or you have your own med spa and you want your own patients, we're going to go through that, and we're going to make sure that you feel confident in that. Here's the harsh reality, okay? And this is just true for anything. You've invested in world-class training, right? Your understanding of how to do Botox and filler, maybe level 1 or 2, or you've been doing it for a long time, but nobody really ever taught you how to fill your schedule, right? How to price with confidence, how to convert consultations, or how to build a sustainable business. And that is a big piece of making sure that not only are you proficient and confident in the clinical aspect of being a business owner, but how do I make money doing what I absolutely love to do? And so that's the goal of tonight, is to give you that confidence. Now, you're not alone, okay? I just did this in a room full of 100+ practices in White Plains, where I was talking about, do you feel this same way? And the vast majority of the room stood up or raised their hand. 83% of newer injectors say they feel overwhelmed by the business side. They have uncertainty about pricing their services. They have difficulty getting their first 50, 100, 150, 200 patients. Sometimes they do amazing out the gate, and then all of a sudden they feel like they're stagnant, or they just, can't get to the next level.
Yeah, no, and I could add to that from a personal experience. When I started, it was challenging because I thought I will open my doors and I will have a line of people lined up for me because I'm a great injector. I know what I'm doing, and it didn't happen. And I had no idea where to find those clients. I had no idea how to get those clients. And it was a big struggle because that's not part of the education. And I had no idea even who to ask those questions. So definitely, almost all my students ask me the same questions when we do training. So the need is there. I wish there would be more resources and help for new people when they do start out, but hopefully you will help them to at least give them a navigation tool, I guess, or where to start, or at least where to look for and what to look for when they're hiring a marketing company. Because as I said, I burned out by 6 different companies, but as you pointed out, it wasn't totally their fault. It was fault in the system that we had in the practice that was not working properly. So go ahead. Just wanted to give my 2 cents.
And that's the system. I love that you shared that, because it's a marriage, it's a partnership between whoever's helping you attract patients and what you're providing on your side. I love the fact that you're candid about growth, right? There's so many people that are afraid to admit, I need help in this or I need help in that. I'm a constant student, right? The moment I think that I've achieved everything is when I should just get out of business, because every single day I'm learning something new. So here's the 3C framework.
I still take classes too.
Right, exactly. Here's the 3C framework. And so it's clients, confidence, and cash flow. And so what I mean by clients, getting patients in the door, right? So making sure that patients are coming in, because without them, you just have training, right? You don't have any money, you just have training. Confidence is really important as well. So you get that from the clinical side of getting the training, but you also need to practice, because if you don't use it, you kind of lose it, right? Either new techniques are coming out, or the trends are changing, or you just don't feel as confident if you're not doing the same thing day in and day out. And then cash flow, right? There is no way to separate the two. If you are in business for yourself, or you are in a cash-based business like aesthetics, clients, patients have choices of where they're going to go. my job as a marketer and consultant is to make sure that they choose you, but it's also to make sure that you have the confidence and the systems to ensure you're making money when they arrive. So would you say there's anything missing from this, Natalia? Like just in your experience?
No, I think that's the main 3 points. And if not only knowing these 3 points, but have system in place where these 3 points are ironed out, they in and out in the practice, that makes
Mm.
a big difference too. When clients comes in, because clients will feel it. And it's okay to say that you don't know, because when I started, I would tell my clients, I just started, this is what we're looking at, and kind of explain. And they were very nice and kind, and kind of they were okay knowing that I was just a beginner. And I did start practicing on models first. So I will have ad campaigns going in for models, people coming in. And a lot of those models actually stayed as our clients. I have some clients for 5, 6, 7 years, and they started as models. And those are actually my best
That's
promoters and best referral source, because they've been there for a while. They trust me. They've been through my whole journey, and we stay together.
that's amazing. I think that's big to on both sides. I think it's big because you've shown them that you're a constant student and you're getting excellent at what you do, and so they've been able to graduate with you each phase. But they've also gotten the benefit of somebody that has just poured their heart and soul into treating those clients like they're their own, right? It's not like you had an ego or an axe to grind. You treated them as humans, and that's who we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, and what they respected was the number three, the cash flow. As a new business owner, you worry about paying the bills and everything else, but I kind of let that business side of me on the side first to build trust and not to oversell. And many times I heard from my clients and students when they shadowed me for our internship, and they were like, wow, you actually tell them that they don't need anything. I thought the goal was to sell them as much as you can. I was like, no, we
Right.
need to build trust first. And if patient is actually asking for a procedure, and I know this procedure is not going to be for them, I will tell them and talk them out of it. And they was like, oh, we'll trust you and we'll stay here because you're the first med spa that we came in, not trying to force us to buy something, but actually telling us that we're not a good candidate. So I feel that's important, and I would like to give advice to all new practices that's starting up. Yes, you do need to pay the bills, and people are focused on making money, but you will lose the client if that's the feeling that they get. And I think you have it somewhere down the slides when you talk about it more. I think
Yeah.
I slides, yeah. So we could move on and talk about it later, maybe.
All right. Amazing. Amazing. So the first thing, first C is clients, right? Without them, we don't have anything. So I love this this kind of meme-ish slide. How marketing is viewed by marketers and non-marketers. Marketers, there's all of these tools, systems, thought processes. For non-marketers, can we go viral and get leads? Right? And that's so common, right? We think that if we just make a few posts online, we're going to blow up and our practice is going to be filled. Now, is there an outlier that is able to do that? Absolutely. And my hat is off to you. They're probably not on this call tonight. Okay. But for the rest of us, mere mortals, we have to do the things that will attract people. And there's a systematic process to it. And I like to use this as an example. Who here has ever used an Uber before? You know, just kind of there's a little hand raise thing. You can feel free to raise your hand. Obviously, it's not going to be dialogue, but I would assume most of us, especially if we live in the tri-state area, we've used an Uber or a Lyft at some point. The only way that you could even order an Uber is if you know exactly where you want to go. Okay. You have to put in the destination in order for them to even pick you up. And it's funny because we put more into an Uber than our own business sometimes. We don't know where we want to go. We don't know what our final destination is. Do I want multiple providers? Do I want to be a solo provider? Do I want a huge location? Do I just want a studio? Do I want time with my kids? Do I want every hour to be at work? Right? It's those are important things for us to understand. In addition to that, we also want to know where we're taking our client. Okay. So there's two sides of it. There is our journey as the business owner, right? And just for the record, I went through the same process. When I started Tier 3 Media, I left a great six-figure corporate job where I was training and it was pretty easy. And then I quit that and I started Tier 3 Media. And me and my business partner started in literally his basement and split $3,000 for the first 2 months. So that was a huge difference. And we had to think, where are we going and where do we want to take our clients? This is how we started really coming up with something called Decided. Okay. And we're going to go through that right now because it's a major, major component to what we're going to talk about tonight. So here's one part of Decided. Okay. This is the first phase one. Okay. We'll call this market. So discover, where that's where I've discovered I have a need. Okay. I just got some mosaic done to my eyes when I was at the Cynosure Lutronic event. But I'm on Zoom calls every day. And I discovered on Zoom calls, I have baggy eyes. Okay. I have a little bit of volume loss under here, but I have baggy eyes and I don't like it. Okay. So I discovered that. But I also discovered, oh my gosh, there's solutions out there for things that I can create volume, build collagen, add volume under my eyes, and it can look better. So that's the discover phase. Okay. The educate phase is where I start looking into solutions, right? So there might be a device or filler or PRF or easy gel, or there's a lot of different things that I might be able to do under here. PDO threads I might be able to do. I don't know that answer, right? But I know that I can search these things, research it, and then I can start comparing, which is this phase right here. And that's where, as a consumer, I start making a short list. Who does this? Do they do it well? Do they have good reviews? Should I reach out to them? And if I do reach out to them, which is this phase, will they respond and will I feel good about it? Now, we're going to talk about this part. This is like, it's literally in the center of this, okay? This is the crescendo of this entire relationship that we're building with a client, which is initiate, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And then there's the maximize side. So now I got this person in the door. I initiated with them. Now it's my job as a clinician to make sure that they feel great about the consultation process. They feel confident and comfortable with me. I feel confident in what I'm providing to them, and they can decide on me. And this is where they're able to kind of give us money for our expertise, right? After this is where that person evaluates. Did I have a good experience throughout this entire process? Do I like my results? Do I like the location that I went to? What was this experience like for me? And then I can leave a review, okay? And then there's defend. So the defend, that's like a brand ambassador. That's somebody that is going to refer you to friends and family and say, I absolutely love Natalia's Med Spa. She's not only a great provider, but she treated me like a human being. She didn't try and oversell me. You need to go to her because she's outstanding. Natalia, I'm going to pause here for a second. What are your thoughts about this? How do you see this in your practice?
Well, it's exactly as you describe, and I feel like part of the marketing is to get the client from the stage of discovering to initiating by giving them hints and guiding them to initiate and come to you. I think that's the goal of marketing, the way it should be done. But the message should be clear. It needs to make sense, like your location, your experience, the way the place looks. Because when you market and you see one thing, and then when client comes and they see totally different thing and experience doesn't make sense, that's when they leave. And that was the experience that I felt was the best. That the marketing message, the message that patient gets when they get to the office, and then the treatment that patient gets while they're in the office, the experience, if all of it blends together, I call it a marriage. I don't know if you have a different term for it. That's when you have a successful client that's happy, gets the results that they're looking for, and then will come back. And as a bonus, they will refer another person coming in. So I'm sure you will talk about it, and we discuss it multiple times with you, that marketing message should be exactly focused on what type of clients you're looking to get and draw to your practice, and what their expectations are, what they're looking for, and are you the right person to provide treatment according to the expectation, meeting the expectation, and would you be able to keep that client afterward? I think that's kind of the journey that a lot of people don't want to think about, because I wasn't when I started. What did I know about marketing and the journey and everything else? That was something that I learned by doing tons of mistakes and kind of talking different marketing. But I feel like if you explain it to the person when they just starting their journey, I'm talking about the clinician, then their focus would be shifted to doing the right up with these numbers and everything else, the letters that.
There's a lot to think about, a ton to think about.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So,
Most providers, they're really just used to this, just dealing with this, right? The decide component of it. I'm fulfilling something, they're coming in, especially healthcare providers. If you were working in a hospital or you were working at another practice, you were just focused on patient care, which is one tiny sliver of the entire relationship and journey.
I
So
agree.
here's what Discover looks like, right? So every day we're bombarded with all these, and these could be outdated, right? Like I don't know that these are still the things that are popping up on our feeds, but
Posts, all the
um,
marketing that's in the feeds, on Instagram, on Facebook. Yes.
the news, wherever, right? We're constantly bombarded by beauty and what is supposed to look beautiful, right? And so this is always on our feed. And then you go and you see your friend just had her wedding, right? And she looked great, right? She lost weight for the wedding. She has this glow before her wedding. She got her hair done, and then you start kind of thinking about, well, there's things that I want to do for myself to get back to what I look like during my wedding, or there's things I wanted to do that I look like prior to kids, right? Whatever that variable is, we're constantly bombarded with this. And then we look in the mirror and we start evaluating ourselves to the standards of society. Now, this is not a philosophical conversation about the vanity and things like that, because everybody's entitled to care about what they care about, right? That's not our job. And I don't think any of us that got into aesthetics are fighting against that, right? Like I've gotten Botox, my eyes filled. Now I do it because I love feeling good about myself, right? But it doesn't stop the conversation that's happening in my head, right? I always am evaluating a previous version of myself to who I am today. Now that I'm in my 40s, I'm different than when I was in my 30s and in my 20s. This is the discover phase, and this is where we get to meet patients. Now, you want to meet your patient where they are. That's why social media, and I don't mean organic social media, okay? This is really important. A lot of practice owners will go and they'll spend $500, $1,000, $1,500 per month on someone doing their social media organic for them. But the reality is this: you're building a TV show that maybe people don't even know exists, right? You could have the best writers, you could have the best producers, you could have the best content in the world. But the reality is that Instagram is throttling you to maybe 10% of your total followers every time you post something. So that 1,000 people that you have on your follow list, maybe 90% of them are in your local area. Of that 90%, there's only 10% that are actually seeing your post, because the algorithm throttles all that unless there's very high engagement. So how do we bypass that? Our recommendation for every single new business is something we call profit first, which is running meta ads. Okay. Meta ads are Facebook, Instagram ads. And there are very specific techniques that will get you good results. And we'll talk about that later on, but this is the discover phase, right? I just noticed that I have a challenge. I'm not ready to go to Google yet, but this just disrupted my normal pattern of browsing on Facebook or Instagram, and I see an ad specifically targeted to something I'm interested in and care about. Now I get to click it and take action and make a decision. This is the second piece of it. If some of you might be working with an agency right now, some of you may have already gotten burnt by an agency. If they are telling you to spend less than $25 per day per campaign, which is roughly $750 per month for your ads, you should run in the opposite direction. Okay.
Not enough.
Because it's just not enough to dilute the cost of the agency, and it's not enough for the algorithm to really have a learning experience and target the right people that are supposed to see your ads. Our sweet spot, right? Our minimum sweet spot is $25 per day per campaign.
Can I translate what you just said, Rick, for people
Yes,
who are
yeah,
not
please,
reading?
please, yeah, yes.
No, usually when the ads are run, it's just my understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong. You set a budget at the side, and that's something that was another challenge for me because when I spoke to agencies in the past, I had no idea. As you said, run from them, but how would I know that I need to run from? I don't even know what these numbers mean. And you're hiring a marketing agency to run ad campaigns for different treatments that you would like to bring clients in. Your ads would be shown to a wide range of people based on the targeting that you choose, location, the money, and whatever else their interest. And then to get enough clients to see the ads, you need to have enough budget because there's a certain amount of impression of views that ad would be shown to a certain amount of people. Am I correct, Rick?
Yeah, that's excellent. I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, so you need to have enough money in the bank for that amount of people to see the ad, so they actually make that decision. Maybe they need to see it multiple times before that make that decision to click on the ad, make a call, or even to ask the question. So if you don't have enough money, not enough people will see that ad, not enough times, which mean you just wasted, let's say, $15 and you didn't get the result as compared if you have at least. That's the logistics and technicality of running the ads and the budgets and everything else. And any marketing company that you work with should be able to explain it to you, and you should be asking those questions when you talk to your marketing company, which I had no idea what it all means when I started, but kind of something that's need to know. I guess with time it comes, but preferably learn by someone else's mistakes, not your own mistakes.
Here's a pro tip also. If you want to, I don't want anyone to go into debt. Okay. So that's number one. I want you to budget a certain amount that you are confident with. Again, the minimum that you'd want to budget in your first month running ads is $750 roughly. Okay. Now, you get 3 times the points if you use a Chase Inc. business card when you use that for marketing related things, right? So like if you're running paid ads, if you use a Chase Inc. card, you can put it on there. If you're going to pay it off at the end of the month, even better because you're not going to have any interest, but you'll get 3 times the points, which is fantastic as a business owner because you can apply that towards travel. You can apply it towards anything that you want, really, cash. But it's a great use of leveraging debt in order to get something back. I just don't recommend that you keep on racking up the debt. You don't want to do that. That's not a good business practice. All right, so we're going to go to the next slide. So this is the next piece, right? So this is educate. Where do we educate ourselves? I'd say the vast majority of us are going to educate ourselves on Google, right? YouTube is also a platform. TikTok is a platform, but the vast majority of people in your local area are looking for something called the local map pack, which is this right here. And you've probably done this when you're looking for a restaurant, right? If you say pizza or you say whatever you're looking for, when you pop that in, it's going to be using your GPS. 85% or greater of traffic that happens on a mobile phone. Most web agencies, believe it or not, still optimize for desktop, which is wild to me because 85% of the traffic is coming through your mobile phone. And so we have to optimize for Google My Business, the map pack, which you can see here, on both platforms, both on desktop and on your mobile phone. If you don't have either of those, then you're not going to be found. I would ask this question because this is kind of a rhetorical question. You don't actually have to answer it. Who do you think the 4th most popular med spa is in this area based on this map pack? The answer is we don't know. We have no idea who 4th place is because it's only the top 3. And on mobile, it's only the top 1. The good news is this is one of our clients. So she's number 1 in this area. She's number one in this area, technically, because this is a sponsored link, but she's number one. Now, let's take it a step further, okay? Reviews are vitally, 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 vitally important for your business, okay? Think about how we shop on Amazon, right? If I had, let's just say that this is my phone, okay? It is my phone. Let's not just say it. So this is my phone. If it's on Amazon and it's $900, for one vendor and it's $900 for another vendor, if one vendor has 95 reviews and the other one has 937 reviews, I'm likely as the consumer going to choose the one that has 937 reviews. It just makes me feel safer about my decision. It's something in marketing we call social proof. It eases our mind that we're not going to make a poor financial decision, and that it gives us safety in numbers, okay? This right here is called the SERP, okay? And it's short for search engine result page. The only way that you can get the top of that as well is through content. If there are any agencies that you've ever spoken with that says that they can get you to the top and they don't have metrics on it, number one, you can't promise that anyone can get to the top. You could promise that you can get them higher up in rankings, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be at the top. It's a moving target all the time, and you have to create fresh content all the time. But this is how people educate themselves. So the question that I want everyone to ask, am I visible to people that are looking for answers? If the answer is no, that just creates an opportunity for you to work on that or work with someone that is great at that. My hope is it's us. But the reality is that is an opportunity for you to get ahead of your competitors and increase the amount of revenue coming into your practice by attracting new patients. Oops. This piece right here I wanted to show as well. So a little bit has changed in Google. There's now something called the AI overview. And this is where it pulls in a lot of information. It's looking at who has the most reviews. It's looking at who has the best content around the widest variety of information. And what I mean by that is it's not just Botox, 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 Botox. It's also talking about things that are around Botox. How long does Botox last? What are Botox competitors? Is Botox safe? It's all of the things that surround the keyword. And so the better the information is, the more that this AI is going to help that consumer get that answer. And if you notice, Hebe is here on all of these, right? Every single place they're in the top spot because of the strategy around getting them found in their local area, okay? The next piece is compare. How do you compare? How do you stack up against your competitors, right? When somebody starts reviewing you and looking at all of your information, do you have a website that is easy to use? Do you have branding that has continuity? Do you have reviews on Google and other types of platforms? So all of these different things help with the comparison phase. Again, just think about how you shop on Amazon, or just think about the way that you even look for a restaurant near you, right? If one place has terrible reviews and one place has great reviews, you are 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to the one that has great reviews, unless you have to meet a friend at the one that has bad reviews. And I'm sure that we can all agree on that. Natalia, I want to pause here for a second. What are your thoughts in the years that you've been doing this? How is this helpful for you in your business?
Well, the more I feel like the more exposure you get, and if the message on different platforms is the same, I think that's what it's like building the puzzle pieces together. Because I do
Mm,
get a lot of times people find us first on Instagram, or they see the ads on social media. Because we have different URL links for each ad campaign that we're running, so we could track the journey of a client, and we see like the journey with the Facebook pixels and everything else. My technical team probably knows that, and your team as well, what they do. But and putting in the nice words, we see the journey that client first see our ad on social media that we're running with your company. Then they will go ahead and check our Instagram page, for example, or our Facebook Then they look at our Google reviews and kind of if the message is the same from one point of destination to next and next and next point A, point B, and it's the same cohesive message that shows the quality, the reviews are and everything else, like it convinces the client to finally make the decision to come to the clinic or make that phone call because nowadays consumers are educated and I was smiling when you were talking about Google and YouTube. I call it Dr. Google and Dr. YouTube. So
Yeah.
because they look up all the information, and if the message in between those platforms are not the same, if they're seeing one thing in the ad and then they go, let's say it's a beautiful ad, beautiful pictures, videos, and everything is well made, but then they go and see like Google reviews, there's only one or two, or they're bad Google reviews, 1 or 2 stars, then even
Or there's no before and afters. That's a huge
no
one as
before
well.
and afters. So even though they were willing, they were kind of convinced or got engaged with the ad itself, they're not going to make that phone call because they will find someone else in that niche that has everything put together. And that seems to make a difference. And we usually ask our clients when they come to us, regardless if it's our students, if it's our models, even if it's our clients that come to the clinic, one of the first questions we usually ask when they come in, once we have the conversation consultation, how do you know about us? How do you find us? And that what kind of we know, and they tell us like, oh, I've been following your Instagram for a while. I really like the videos. I really like the reviews that you have on your account, and it kind of convinced me to finally come. And I'm glad that I came in, for example, right? Like, so it does.
I want to
Journey.
pause on that last part of your
Yes.
phrase. It convinced me to finally come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a journey, right? So there are different phases of this journey that they might not be ready right here, but that's why that content and that's why all of these things work together as a cohesive solution to get that person into your practice.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to go into initiate. So I'm going to be a nerd for a few minutes. Not that I haven't been a nerd, so I'm sorry to be a bigger nerd now. So this is a study that was done by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, people significantly smarter than I am. And what they found is that speed to lead is crucial for making sure that you get somebody in the door. Okay, this wasn't specific to med spas. This is across multiple businesses, large organizations, but it's true for our industry. It's 100% accurate for our industry, and we know that because we deal with this on a day-to-day basis. But there is a 100-time chance of losing a lead if you do not call in the first 5 minutes. Okay, so it drops by 100 times if you do not contact that lead within 5 minutes. So do you have an automation? Do you have a staff member or yourself? Do you have anything that's going to let that person know, thank you for giving me your information and you're showing your interest? Let's start this conversation up, right? And Natalia, I'm going to pause here for a second. What has this changed in your business when you didn't have a follow-up system? What's the difference between now and then?
Well, our biggest challenge was, and I'm glad that you pinpointed it when we started working with you, that we didn't have a system in place to follow. That was the biggest challenge, and having a dedicated person or having a system. We implemented AI recently with you the call or schedule themselves. It made a big difference. A lot of our leads because I've seen that people are sometimes sending messages at 12 at midnight or 11 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock in the
The
morning.
most popular times are when
Right,
people
right.
are
And I
relaxing in
mean,
bed.
it's New York and everybody's busy whenever they have time, but it's not realistically possible to have a front desk person at 12 midnight picking up the phone, right? But you will lose that lead because by tomorrow, when my receptionist calls them, they might be at work and they will pick up, and the next day they will forget that even seen my ad. So AI helped a lot, and having a dedicated person during the day follow up with the leads while they still thinking and you have the lead that wants to do it.
And it would be bad enough if it was just us not getting back to them. Let's multiply that by 1,000, because as
Mhm.
soon as they click on an ad for an interest group that they have, and this is important information for everybody to understand about Facebook and Instagram ads. Once you fall within an interest group, once you click on an ad, and you've probably seen this 1,000 times, if you click on something for like shoes or clothes or a bag or something like that, you see 20 other ads specifically for that category of interest. Okay. If you don't answer that person, they're going to get another ad. And if they don't hear from you in that night or in, the first hour even, they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to find somewhere else that has a similar offering, a similar location close to them, and you're going to miss out on that opportunity. And so speed to lead is vital. I'm not going to go super, super deep into this. I'm going to share the slides with everybody after this call, but 100x for 5 minutes, 21x if the qualifying isn't done, right? So when you're reaching out to them, I won't even know if they're a good fit for what we're doing because they're not going to pick up. And then the 10x is the odds of calling to a contact if the lead decreases by over 10 times in the first hour. So if it takes you an hour to get to them, it's a 10x drop off. So it's huge numbers, and it's crucially important.
And don't forget, it's the waste of the budget. That's the
It's a huge
biggest.
waste of the budget, right? Yeah,
Yes.
if you're budgeting $750, right, and you're spending $10 per lead, just think of it that way. Every time you don't respond to that person, you're literally losing $10.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that's painful. For me, that's painful. I don't know about anybody else, but that kills me.
For me too.
So here are some of the top 5 confidence builders for you as a practitioner. Okay, document your process and optimize. What do I mean by that? As you go through training, document what those protocols are in practice, right? What does your system look like when people come into your practice? What does it look like for you when a patient enters the door, starts having a conversation with you? What does your process look like? If it's different every single time and you're just trying to figure it out as you go, you're not going to be super confident. My recommendation, and athletes do this all the time, it's called visualization. Think about the entire process. What does it look like from beginning to end? What does a really successful conversation and interaction with my patient look like? Document that out. You're going to see that in the slides as well. I've shared what I build for a lot of clients, but there's kind of a basic process that I'm going to show you in a bit. Learn the art of the consultation. Okay. I would be willing to bet, because my background is sales. I trained Fortune 100 and 500 companies for many years. I had a portfolio that I had to manage of $50 million, and that was super stressful. And I'm very happy that I left that in the corporate world. But what I found out very early on is that providers don't want to be salespeople. And I get it, because sales itself isn't fun, and it's often manipulative, and it often doesn't jive with the persona that you have as a caretaker, right? And the consultation, the art of the consultation, should never have sales be at the heart of it. Although selling is a component, you don't have to be a salesperson. We'll talk about that in a few. Create your lookbook. Before and afters are so important for you. I'm sure everybody here has heard the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words. In aesthetics, it's worth $1,000. Okay. Make sure you document all of your before and afters. Make it part of your process. When I said document your process, make that part of it. I need to get your befores, and when we're done, I need to get your afters. That will build your portfolio, because we are a visual industry. Be a continual student, right? Both Natalia and I were just talking about that. Like, we cannot stop learning, because the industry's changing, the market's changing, interests, desires, all of that is changing. The moment we think we have it all figured out, someone's going to be ahead of us. And so we need to invest in our continual learning. And then practice, 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 right? You can't practice unless you have patience. So get patience and practice, 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 and get more patience. Natalia, is there anything that you wanted to share on this one right here?
No, all of everything that you mentioned, it's just, I guess, step by step how to do all of it probably would something that they benefit from if we explain step by step how to achieve all the 5 components that are here in more
You're
detail.
stealing my thunder. We're going to go through that. Yeah, so we'll go through that. I'm going to show everybody in a moment when we get into the cash flow, but some of these things are in there. But I would say the things that are not touched on is the practice, practice, practice. But the reality is that there's no way to plan for that. Once you have patients, the byproduct of having a patient is practicing, right? Practice on your friends, practice on your family, practice on everybody that you can, so that that way you feel confident in what you're doing. Um,
What I could add to this, ask when we do an internship, I don't know what to put on my social media. I don't have before and afters. How do I convince my clients if I don't have any before and afters, right? So things that could be done. I mean, for our students that are doing internship, they usually practice on models, so they kind of gather that information while they're practicing. And our model signed a consent form where they allowed us to post it before and afters, but
yes, love it.
yeah, and that's a plus, at least to start their Instagram page, is still to have or their portfolios before and afters to show their clients. But as Rick said, you don't have to, if you don't have patients yet, don't feel like that should stop you. You could get models, you could practice on friends and family and ask them to do before and afters for, I don't know, a present, a discount, or offer them modeling price for just the products that you're using. You need to build that portfolio. Not all my patients are on social media. They don't want people to know that they had anything done. So I get the before and afters from people that are willing to have the pictures, influencers, bloggers. You share treatments with them, or you provide them a discounted price of treatment or a free treatment for amount of post for their social media engagement, for their followers, whatever. You could come up with different ideas and kind of different offers that you would like to discuss. And this way you are getting your before and afters, you get exposure to the followers and the network that they have, and this way you build your portfolio before you get all those clients to the door, so you have something to show them the work that you do. So definitely don't wait for it to get all the clients, because not every client would like people to know that they have aesthetics done. Then the question is, how do I get those before and afters? Offering the modeling service, offering discounted prices for models, for your family members, for friends, whoever it may be who's willing to trust you and do it. Just ask them to give you before and after. So write it off as a marketing fee. That's what I did at the beginning. People ask me, but I'm wasting my money on it. No, that's not a
It's
waste.
another pro tip. That's another
Investment.
excellent pro tip.
It's investment in your business. Don't look at it as spend money for free or whatever as a loss. It's investment in your marketing for your business, and that's what eventually will bring you clients. Especially in this business, you have to have before and afters. There's no other way of doing it.
Some of my biggest relationships in our industry have come from me providing free value. Now, I charge, when I do consulting, my consulting for med spas is $500 per hour, but I'll give that away absolutely for free if that leads to me building a relationship with a larger organization that can become a client of mine, right? And it's I do it with my heart, right? Like, I do it because I care. It's not a manipulative thing, but it's trading value so that that way they can get value as well, right? There's value on both sides of that. So getting before and afters, that could literally take your business to the next phase, because if you don't have content, you don't really have anything, right?
People don't believe in stock photos anymore or Photoshop photos anymore either. They want real results, real clients, real before and afters. So yes.
Yeah. And you can use, by the way, this is another kind of unsolicited tip. Using Canva, don't have different backgrounds on every single person. Have one standard, either white or black or blue or whatever solid background you want. You could use the background remover in Canva when you're taking photos, and then have all of them be on that same background. What that does psychologically is it tells that there is uniformity, there's consistency in what you're doing for your patients. And that's kind of a subliminal thing that happens when people see really standardized image. So that's another really important tip. Here are some top 5 confidence builders for new patients. So somebody's coming in to see me. How do I make them confident? Well, lead with credentials, right? I want to stop here for a second, because very often when I do training with newer practitioners, they're like, I haven't been doing this a long time. I just don't feel confident. Like, I feel like they're not going to take me seriously. Natalia just shared that She was honest with them, right? You can also be honest about how long you've been passionate about something. I've been passionate about aesthetics for the last 6 years and treating patients for the last 6 months, right? You've folded in your passion into a longer time period and let them know the truth about, I've been treating patients for 6 months. It's okay that you have a starting point. Tiger Woods had a starting point. Michael Jordan had a starting point, right? Like great people, great providers have a starting point, and it's okay for you to have one as well.
Yes.
But lead with,
I just gonna share a little tip. Sorry, I'm
please,
cutting you
please.
off. But what I used to do with my clients, I used to educate them and show them when I was marking my Botox injection. I was showing them, I asked them to hold a mirror and I was showing them this is the corrugator muscle. I'm doing it for myself as well because I was trying to find where that corrugator muscle was on this patient, but we made it fun. I will give them a mirror. I was like, let me show you where your corrugator muscle is, and that's the wrinkles that it made. And I was like, this is where I'll inject because that muscle is the one that's causing that contraction. And that's what causing you to have a wrinkle. They were fine with it. We actually had fun. And they knew that I know my muscles because I did know my muscles. And they kind of built trust because, oh, nobody ever explained to me. I didn't even know that that muscle exists or whatever comment that we made kind of made me believe in myself that I'm actually looking at their muscles and I'm recognizing its location because anatomy is everything when you do aesthetics, and that's unfortunately downside of a lot of educational training that they don't teach anatomy. It's not a cookie cutter approach in this field, and by showing my clients what I know, just anatomy based, forget about my skill of injecting the Botox in the right place and everything else and getting beautiful result. That alone proved to them that I know what I'm doing because even though we did it together and they knew that I'm a new injector, but they noticed that I was taking time. I was trying to find the right muscles that I'm injecting and I'm marking actually, not doing it sloppily and kind of, oh, my previous doctor didn't even know what she was doing. He didn't even mark the things correctly when he was injecting or whatever the comment that will make made me believe that what I'm doing is correct. So definitely
What I
something you could do as well.
what I love about what you just said is you've done all three of these in one fell swoop, right? You've led with your credentials, you've spoken to them professionally, you're using the terminology that is what you're learning and what you're teaching them. And then you're explaining your process. You're taking the fear away of them not knowing what you're doing. And that's huge in making that person feel confident. We're in the circle of trust right now. Okay. I get my eyebrows waxed. I'm Puerto Rican and Italian, so that equals hairy. Okay. So I went to this place and I've gotten my eyebrows waxed since I was, since I was like 15 years old. Um, I went to this one place, and even with all the experience I have with knowing what they're going to do, they're going to put wax on my eyebrow and they're going to rip it off. She explained every step of the way. And I just felt like I wasn't worried about what's going on. Like she just explained everything she was going to do because my eyes are closed. And it was such a great experience that I literally spent almost twice the amount going to her than I did another place that I had been going to for years, just because I had such a good experience with that person.
Did you
They
live
removed all the concern.
did you
I
live for a
did.
nice tip?
I did. It's yeah, always. Yeah.
But that
Um,
makes a difference, right? Experience, not the knowledge, not even before and after sometimes, but the experience. I agree.
it's the experience. It's the relationship I'm building with that person, that provider. Show your before and afters, right? Remember I said before, a picture's worth 1,000 words. In aesthetics, it's worth $1,000. People don't necessarily care about the science and the efficacy and all the other kinds of things that could be in a brochure or online research. Show me what someone else's eyes are going to look like. My friend Mike, who is one of the reps at the event, he showed me his eyes, and I was like, I need that. I had no idea what device it was. I didn't care. I didn't even care if it hurt. I just wanted to look like Mike. so, so before and afters, they are incredible for increasing your patient's confidence. Okay, and then demonstrate a safety first mindset. Okay, make sure that everything you're doing, you're putting your gloves on, making sure that everything that you're doing clinically is sound. The way that you're doing things, the way you're explaining things, the way that you're treating that person, make sure that safety is first for that patient, because that's going to go a very long way. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
We have a saying between our students, I call it Instagram perfect. If you will feel comfortable when you're recording your procedure for it to be on Instagram, and my recommendation is when you are doing your Instagram, everything needs to look perfect, then you know that you're doing the right thing. So there's no open needles
Yeah.
flying around, there's no dirty gloves or you're working without gloves, there is no blood all over the place and all the things that we see in practice. And I've seen sometimes it on other people's Instagram that I cringe. Your work environment where you work and the way you perform procedures should be, I call it Instagram perfect. Your injection
I
point,
love it.
hold the needle, you have to have the gloves on. So everything that I teach my nursing students in my fundamental class and at the City University, I kept that skill and that sterility, everything that I've done, and I still do it after God knows 25 years this year since I graduated my nursing school. And a lot of people when they come in is like, wow, you still recap your needle, don't recap, you do it correctly. That's what I mean. If you show the patient that you're working in that environment and you're providing the care with cleanliness, with sterility, everything that should be done properly in medicine and could be safely placed on Instagram, on social media, knowing that other providers might be following you and might make a comment that you have done something wrong. If you know that everything is spotless and correct, then you would know that your clients would be coming back because they see it as well. We had clients that made comments if one of my assistants while she was assisting me, she touched her phone or she touched something else. They will make those comments. She shouldn't be touching with, let's say, blood. And they're absolutely correct. So
Mm.
that's something that we don't even pay attention maybe to it when we're busy providing service, but clients do pay attention. So that's something, again, Instagram perfect. That's what I call it.
So what you're saying is when you're at home, you could dance like no one's watching, but when you're at work, practice like everyone's watching.
Yes, yes.
Right.
And you
Okay.
feel confident that whatever you're doing is okay to be placed on social media. It means that you're doing the right thing.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. All right. Compensation, what everybody is probably waiting for. How do I get paid for what I'm worth? How do I get paid for my knowledge and my expertise? This is the decided part. This is the consultation phase. Now, before we get into it, my favorite food in the world is an L&B Spumoni Garden Sicilian slice. Okay. It's crispy, doughy, but it's not too thick. It's not like focaccia. It's delicious. Okay. Shout out to L&B Spumoni Gardens. Now, in the chat, I want everybody to guess what my favorite color is. What's my favorite color? Just put it in the chat. Getting some different answers. All right. So red, green, blue, red. So it's fair to say that none of these are the same. Okay. It's fair to say that none of these are the same except for red. But now let me ask everybody, what is my favorite food? Jenny is winning the prize for the fastest responses, by the way. I love it. Well, if you guessed pizza, even if you didn't write it, you are 100% correct. Now, what was the difference between my favorite color and my favorite food? All it was that I told you, right? You knew the answer. And I call this cheating before the test. If I can get my client to share what's most important to them prior to them sitting down in my chair, then I can have a really high level, excellent conversation with them. And I call this the aesthetic journey. So this is download the slides. You'll get the slides tonight. We'll send them out to everybody. But this is the journey I was referring to. This right here, I'm going to give everybody access to this. I call this the emotional intake form. It's part of a process that I call upsharing. Okay. Upsharing is different than upselling. Upsharing, the whole entire purpose of upsharing is for me to allow my clients to share what's most important to them. And once I get everything that's most important to my client, then I can share my expertise, my knowledge, my skill set, the best outcomes that I could provide to them. I get to share as well. Sure, in the middle of that, there's a transaction. They're going to spend money, but I'm not pushing them to do anything because they told me exactly what they want. Now, this is really important, okay? There are two motivating factors for all of us. We either run away from pain or we run towards pleasure. Okay? Those are the two motivating factors for human decision, basically. Okay? In addition to that, we purchase things through emotion, and then we justify that purchase through logic. Okay? I'll give you a good example of this. I would be willing to bet that if this was a glass of tap water, okay, it's my phone, but if this was a glass of tap water for my house, not even filtered, just straight up from the sink, okay? If this was unfiltered tap water, I guarantee not one of you would buy it for $5, okay? But I would bet a significant amount that if you were in the desert for 4 days and had no access to any water whatsoever, I guarantee that you would spend probably twice the amount. You'd probably buy this for $10 if you were in the desert and had no access to water. So the context of running away from pain and running towards pleasure, and the context of emotion. So emotion creates context, and sometimes vice versa. Context can create emotion. Emotion creates value, okay? That is so important. We need the client to tell us what they value. Going back to the example I just shared with you, my favorite food is pizza, okay? I see value in that. I would drive an hour for good pizza, okay? But if you told me a food that I didn't care about at all and I just did not like, I wouldn't even drive 2 minutes for it. I wouldn't let you to deliver it to my house because I don't see value in it. I wouldn't eat it, okay? The reason I'm saying all this is that if we can allow the client to share what's important to them and create the context for that client to share what's important to them, then we can create an atmosphere where we can get that person to do the things that we have skill in to give them outstanding outcomes. Thoughts on this, Natalia? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Absolutely. And I remember it was 2 weeks ago, one of our students, she's shadowing me. She's doing her aesthetic internship. And the way I do consultation when client comes in, aside from them filling out information, we usually ask them what skin concerns you have and things like that. First thing that we do after introducing, I give them a mirror. And I was like, look at the mirror and tell me what you want to change or what would you like to address. And she's looking at me, my student is like, why you gave her a mirror? She's seen her face 100 times. I was like, no, I want her to take a look at it again and let me know what she sees there that she doesn't like. Because what I see is totally different from what she sees. I need to understand what's going on in her head before I offer her any treatments the way I see it. So I give them an opportunity to look again at their face, look at whatever they like, they don't like, they want to change. And sometimes I see something that's very obvious to me that might need to be changed. They don't even notice it. So you need to get into their head and understand what their pain point is, what they are willing to spend money for, what bothers them the most. If you could get that information clear, then you could work from that information and come up and build up a treatment plan around that problem that they're seeing. And that problem might not be something that needs to be fixed to begin with. They see, let's say, nasolabial folds that very deep, but the problem is not a nasolabial fold that needs a filler. Problem is that they have a lot of skin hanging and it needs to be left, and it might be they lost volume in their cheeks and it needs to be fixed, but they don't know all of these details. It's up to us to show it. All she's seeing is a deep groove where nasolabial fold is. Now that I know that's what her concern is, now it's my time to address her pain and show her, and she still keeps the mirror while I'm repositioning the tissues, showing her, asking her to grimace, to do changes on the face, lifting her skin, showing her where the problem is and what should we focus on to eliminate the problem that she sees. So that's opportunity for me to do assessment, to understand what the client wants. And then my treatment plan is focused on, you have nasolabial fold that's very deep, but the problem comes from the cheek area. You also have hollow under eyes. You also have this and this and this. And that's what I recommend you to do. We could start with something. Tell me where we start. We have patients that would say, okay, do whatever you think is needed. I don't care about the price. I kind of will do everything. Just make me beautiful. We have patients say,
Those are the
no,
good ones.
Right, those are the best ones to have, but you need to get into that relationship before they become those best clients. But I have
Yeah.
clients who say, no, I have a budget only for this amount, and I could spend only this month. So I was like, okay. And she was asking me, where should I start to afford, and then I will come back for later. I want to do everything, but unfortunately, and we offer financing as well for those patients, but we start at something that will give her some results, boost her confidence and trust in you, and then we could come up with other plans and kind of do it in over several months or whatever, depending on the complexity. But the number one thing, to understand what patient wants, and then you build your treatment plan around that problem that they see, not what I see.
This right here, we're going to share with you so that way you have access to it. Again, we'll send it out to everybody, but we have some good bonuses. And I want to make sure that, just looking at time, I want to make sure that we're respectful of your time tonight, but I hope you're getting a ton of value out of this. I'm going to skim past this one really quick. Upsharing is going to be something that everyone has access to. It's going to be a guide on the 4 A's of upsharing, but I'm going to jump past this one. But this is one thing that is really important. Confident providers create confident patients. Confident patients love to invest in more treatments. Okay. When the patient is confident that you can provide what you're saying, and they're confident that you're hearing them, they want to spend money. And my assumption is, if you're like me, you've probably spent money on things that you shouldn't have spent money on that day or that night, right? But you spent money on it because you wanted it. Let's give them an opportunity to pay for things that they see value in. That's not our job to tell them what's valuable or not. Now, that's different from what Natalia was saying earlier, which was, if they really don't need something, it's our job to educate them, and potentially help guide them towards something that's in their best interest. But if they want to spend money on something, it's not our job to pull them away from being able to do that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if they're willing to spend, as long as that within the treatment plan and it's correct for them, then I would say yes. But I do get sometimes requests, patients are coming in and they saw something on social media, or they saw their friends doing the similar treatment, had great results. But after assessment, I noticed that whatever her friend did look great on her friend, but she has a different skin texture, she has a different profile,
Mm,
different shape of lips, nose, whatever it is. And whatever treatment that they're requesting me to do, even though I will make money if I provide the treatment. However, if I know that it's not going to give great result to the patient, I usually talk them out of it. And they actually respect me more for it, because I explain why they shouldn't be doing this procedure and they're not a good candidate. They respect me more, saying, oh, first time I came in and nobody's trying to sell me something. They're actually talking me out of it. So you build trust when you do it this way. It's a soft sale, let's put it this way. It's not a harsh sale, but I usually go by, I still, gave a Hippocratic oath. So I try to stick to it
right.
as much as I can, regardless if I need to make money and I need to upsell things, but it has to be right for the right patient. I would never, never offer something just to make money and knowing that it's not going to help the patient, or knowing that that's not appropriate for the patient, regardless of how much money they're willing to pay.
But this is how Tier 3 Media, everything we talked about tonight in that decided journey, Tier 3 Media is able to help your practice as well. And so on the Discover side, we can help with paid meta ads, with custom landing pages, helping with events and contests, and something that we call profit partners or premier partners here. On the Educate and Compare side, we can help with paid Google ads, retargeting campaigns, monthly and seasonal promotions, revenue blasts, which is like email and SMS blasts, SEO, which you saw on that Educate and Compare side, website design. So all of these different things, we can help, whether you're a startup practice, a stabilizing practice, or a scaling practice like Natalia's. We have solutions for all of you. And what I'm really excited about is that there is a humongous bonus tonight, just for you being on this call tonight. So we have a platform specifically for you as a startup practice or a stabilizing practice, called GrowTalks AI. And so everybody's heard the buzzword of AI, but AI in this specific scenario will help you run those ads that we were referring to. It's also going to have a CRM, and basically that stands for Customer Relationship Management System. And so it'll track all of the leads. You'll have a MedSpa community. So if you join this, you'll be part of a community where you can ask questions and continue getting training like this, and continue really learning all the trade secrets that successful practices have. And then we also have weekly group calls with really amazing support. And so myself, my business partners, we're on these calls teaching you how to do all of these different types of ads and running your social media and making sure that you are successful in your practice. Everything here, this comes with everything in these different phases. So you'll have the AI-driven best-in-class paid ads. We'll do a comprehensive website and ranking analysis for you. That usually has a fee, and we're including that at no cost. You'll get what's known as Hello Helper. So remember the MIT study. This thing is 24 hours. It will speak like you and I would speak. And it's not voice, it's text message, but it's 24 hours a day. So no matter where that person is, what they're doing, it's an immediate response to that person to make sure we qualify that person and get them booked. I'm going to give you the free upsharing guide and something called Review Genius, which will help you get all of your reviews stacked up on your Google My Business. Now, it's typically $597 per month, but I'm giving you a $500 consultation. I told you earlier that my consultation fee is $500. You're going to get that for free just for being on this webinar tonight. Okay, so please take advantage of it. If you are a business owner and you want to know how to get to the next level, hop on the call with me. There's a QR code. All you have to do is scan that with your cell phone. But I have something more exciting to tell you. For tonight, you're not only going to get the free $500 consultation with me, but this $597 program you can get for $99 per month. All you have to do after that $99 is put your $25 per day towards your ads, and you'll start getting bookings basically overnight. So my plea with you is, if you want to take your business to the next level, have that QR code, scan it, go to the landing page and book your appointment so that way we can get the ball rolling with you. It's a total savings of over $7,900. Okay, it's humongous for you. So now we'll be able to open things up for some questions. And Talia, I want to pause here. What has your experience been like working with Tier 3 Media as a whole? I know you've alluded to it a few times.
Well, if I'm here with you for 3 years, it says that it's a good experience.
Right.
All the 6 months before, you got discharged after 6 or 8 months. Do I qualify for this offer too, Rick, or am I past
It
that
is. It's new clients. It's
okay, new clients only. Okay, no, just a joke. No, definitely. As I said, you were the first one who helped me to see the downside that I was experiencing. Partially was on my side, so helped me to assess the problems that I didn't even know that existed in my practice. Because when you're starting the practice, you don't know the way things should be done. You don't know what's right or wrong. And nobody looked into it before. And if I don't know what I'm doing wrong, how would I know to fix it? First, you need to know what needs to be fixed. And I'm grateful for that, because I think that was a big game changer for me to retain the clients and the marketing money that I was spending, that it wasn't wasted, and we actually have clients coming through the door, because every step of the way we have a system that's keeping it all together. So that was the big help, and I'm very grateful for your insight at the time and kind of getting things together. But I think it's time for us to answer some questions. We have some questions coming in, and question one of the questions: is it possible, because people are watching us from the phone, some of them, is it possible to post the link where the QR code is into the chat for people that can access?
I just did. I love that you asked that, because I just added that to the entire group. It's
yes, thank
right
you.
there.
Thank you,
Okay, fantastic.
Somebody asked that question. So, okay, some of the questions that we received, I could answer some of them, and you could probably fill in what's pertaining to you. If some aesthetic eyelashes. I do get a lot of students that been a esthetician now got trained into injectables. They got their RN licenses, NP licenses, or I have students that might have, let's say, primary care practice and would like to introduce aesthetic into their business. How does that work? Because when I started primarily from aesthetics. Like I didn't switch from one practice to another, but what is the right way of doing it and marketing to the client base that you already have, which is much cheaper? Are there any tools for that? Any suggestions that you could get? Is there any way that you could help with that part as well, aside from building the ad campaigns?
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. So within the Grow Talks platform, they can put all of their contacts. So all of your emails and cell phone numbers, we would help you. We have a white glove onboarding where we can load all of your clients into the system, and we can send text blasts on your behalf. We can help you or train you really how to send the SMS blast. That's why we have our weekly calls, and set up email campaigns so that that way you can remarket all of your current clients. And so we'll train anybody that signs up for Grow Talks AI tonight. That's just part of it, right? So weekly calls to show you how to do this, and we'll custom tailor certain solutions specifically for you, so that that way it's helpful for you specifically.
Yes, no, thank you. That's something that's definitely, and it's easy for those people to do marketing because you have a client base already, and you just need to let them know that you're offering new services, and it needs to be the right message, the right marketing for the current client base, and those would be the best clients because they already know you, they already trust you, and you will be able to convert them for new services. That's what we usually do when we introduce a new service into the practice. First thing to do is market to the accumulated already client base. Those are already in your network that you already trust you, and that's usually an easier sale than getting a client that's coming through the door. They don't know you yet. So for those who have a client base, don't underestimate them and don't say, oh, my clients, they're not going to do these procedures. You never know.
And also, those are great for your first time
I
models,
didn't
right? Like
really
if
qualify or anything, but you might be the first person that you will introduce, they get them introduced. Look, like Rick was saying, you will go back for those eyelashes, you will go back for Botox, for fillers, and everything else to make you and keep you beautiful after the first
yeah,
treatment. So another question is, if I am starting a new business, where should my marketing be focused, or where do I start with my marketing efforts? Like, what should be the first step if someone is starting brand new,
if
ground
you're
zero?
absolutely brand new pre-revenue, build relationships. Build relationships in the community. Salons are fantastic to start networking with. It's a fringe benefit to salon owners that are going to refer you to their clients. Some of my clients started in the back of a gym. Like if you don't have, there's two sides of this. If you have budget, right? If you have money saved up and you have that kind of socked away and you can invest in it, then my recommendation is to get some type of salon suite and then focus on paid ads. If you don't have a budget for that, then start organically, right? Bootstrap it up and build relationships and get referrals. Friends and family, exhaust them first, right? Make sure that you're getting before and after photos from people that already know, like, and trust you outside of aesthetics, and then start building your portfolio. Just because I said don't focus all of your time and attention on social media does not mean that I don't see the value of putting your work out there and introducing yourself to people, because you want people to see you, you want to be visible. But I wouldn't invest marketing dollars in social media organically, because it's all going to be for your education of patients. It's going to be you sending your before and afters, client testimonials. That's what you should be posting initially. But that's what I would focus on a lot. I see that you say I'm starting my business in aesthetics, but I don't have clients.
Yes, helped me a lot multiple times to my students. How many times they cut my hair, botched my hair because I was trying to make connections and try them first as a client, and all the facials that I have done. And I don't trust my face to anybody for Botox and fillers, so that was not the case. But at least the hair salon, that's number one to go to if you're doing PRP hair. who sees the hair loss first. That's the barber or the stylist. Good referral network. We made special cards for each salon. Some of them allowed us to hang our banners there or leave our cards. And I will either treat those salon owners for free for their Botox fillers, whatever they wanted, or we will have events where I will promote them and they will promote me. So definitely the type of relationship worked very well. And other places, spa salons where they don't do injectables, they do just facials and stuff. That's another good way else, which means they might be candidate for Botox fillers or anything that's medically great. Another question that came in, is there an average budget for a new startup spa, med spa, whatever it is, to invest? Like how much I should, I guess the question is how much I should allocate a estimate number or be putting aside basically for marketing.
So
Is there
there are metrics. Yeah, there are like traditional metrics that not just our industry, but just marketing as a whole. It's typically 10% of revenue. But if you're pre-revenue, my recommendation is to save up for at least a run rate of 3 to 6 months, so that way you can invest in marketing, right? We've really done our best to try and mitigate that for you tonight. And this is just me being candid. Like, we knew that there were going to be a lot of startups on this call tonight. And so we're normally $597. So this is $99 per month. And then the only other budget that you'd have to put aside is your ad spend budget, which would be $750. That doesn't go to us. That goes directly to getting your patients. If you don't have that, my recommendation is to, again, start grassroots, build up clientele, and start socking that money away so that way you can afford 3 to 6 months. I'd say 3 at an absolute minimum. You shouldn't do anything if you can't do it for 90 days, just in general. That's a general business principle, is everything should have a 90-day sprint, but 6 months will give you enough real kind of runway to feel safe in what you're investing. But be wise in how you spend that money, right? The people that are like, get 30 clients in 30 days and all these like gimmicky kinds of things, 9 times out of 10, they're fly by night. They're not going to do a great job for you. And so be wise in how you invest your money. So that would be my biggest advice. And I hope that I answered that. If there's more to that question, I'm happy to continue. So this question right here says, I have a location in a small, clean, and bright room, but the space itself and the office are not the most modern or aesthetically pleasing. Does that matter? Or how do I offset this? You beautify it as much as you can, right? In the beginning, as you're building your business, my recommendation is twofold. You don't want to price yourself out like you're a plastic surgery office, right? But you don't want to dilute yourself to the point where you're not making any money. But start your business that way. That's absolutely okay. Just make sure that you can make it as beautiful as you possibly can in that location. I had a client that was literally in the back of a gym called Physique Fitness. It was an okay spot. It was inside of a gym. But just make sure you give stellar customer experience. Just because your building or your office doesn't have the best experience doesn't mean you can't provide them with the best experience. And then as you grow your market, set a budget for yourself to get to that next spot, right? Your next spot is either going to be a bigger place or a more beautiful location, where you can start building into the dream that you have.
Yes, I think people come for experience, and then once you have enough budget, you could move and get a better location. I agree. I remember I was renting one room in a GYN office, nothing even close to being a spa or location was clean, but has nothing to do with the spa environment. It's a typical medical office. And after a year, thank God I grew enough to move to a better place that were more like a spa setting, was nice environment and everything else. But for a year, I had clients like they didn't mind. I made the room spa-like, even though the reception area and the location was in a good location, but even though it looked more like a typical medical office reception-wise, once they entered my room, I had like nice flowers, I had pictures on the walls. I made the room as much aesthetically pleasing and comfortable for the patient, so they had a feeling that they're coming into aesthetic place, not a typical medical place, and they were totally fine with it and understanding. So I
I would say
think.
two things do matter from an aesthetic perspective: the smell and the cleanliness.
Mhm.
Right? Those are two things that are really important that can't be overlooked. So that's while we're both saying the same thing, and I agree, me and Natalia literally said the same thing. Just make sure that you have something that smells nice, not overwhelming, but it smells nice when they come in. It's relaxing, and then make sure that it's spotless. Right? If it's not modern, make sure it's spotless.
I agree. And I did some cleaning myself at some point. If I see that something out of place, when I open the office, I will clean. If I need to take the garbage out, I will take the garbage out. I know you don't feel like you have to do it, but when you're a business owner, whatever
You
makes
do it
the
all.
presentable, you'll do it all. I'm an electrician and I'm the super of the office, whatever you call it, you name it. But
I'm the CEO and the CJO. I'm the chief janitorial officer.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But it all pays off at the end. Hopefully, you will make enough money to hire other people to do it for you, so you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about it. Another question, and we should be wrapping up. It's already 8:30, but thank you everybody for staying with us. And the last question would be, I guess, um, potential. I think you partially answered that question, but the time frame for me to be able to at least cover my bills. I guess people are asking, and I get asked it a lot, do I need to get a loan out for the first 3 to 6 months until I make enough money to cover the rent, whatever expenses that they have? Like, uh, how much time does it take to build at least a steady clientele base to cover the cost and then start making money? I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to this, but maybe you at least could suggest of what the amount is
Yeah.
or the
I
one.
there are a few ways that you could do that. You could do it with a 0% interest credit card. That would be the most cost effective way of leveraging debt versus going into debt with like a bank loan. Um, and that's how I would approach it. I would approach it with a 0% interest credit card first. That's like a 12-month payoff. That'll give you runway to pay that all off, and you're not stacking up debt. It'll allow you to get your first order from whatever vendor you're going to get the toxin from. And then from a marketing standpoint, again, that Chase Ink card would give you 3 times the points. Now, I would say this: two things can be true. You can work at a job full time, and you can do this on nights and weekends. It's a hustle. You're grinding, right? But
Mhm.
that would give you the highest level of comfort to start building your dream and not have to feel like it's sink or swim every single month. And many practitioners, I'd probably say 80-90% of practitioners that I work with have a full-time or a part-time job that's helping kind of subsidize their dream.
Yep, that's how I did as well. I started as a part-time and then eventually grew out. So that's a very good. And a lot of my students, they do the same. Our graduates, they start part-time, they still keep their hospital jobs or whatever it is while they're being their client base. So they're not as much struggling with the income and have time to invest in their business and kind of build it up. And then I had some students that already, my graduates, they already switched completely from their hospital jobs and got full-time business and just a complementary income to the main job, whatever it is. So it could be done both ways, and I think that's something that doable. I've done it. Multiple of our graduates done it. It's something that you could try. And as I said, if worst case scenario it doesn't work, you always have still your steady job that you go to. But all our graduates, as far as I know, everybody's injecting. My common joke is where you find all these faces to inject, but that field, which is great. they make me proud. So I'm very happy for them, and kind of we celebrate our positive things together, which is very rewarding for me as a faculty, I guess, as an instructor. I guess we're done with the questions. Thank you very much, Rick, for joining us. It was a pleasure as usual. All the
Thank
knowledge
you.
that
Thank you for
you
having me.
shared, all the knowledge that you shared with us, and I feel like we did give enough information for people at least to set their mindset, or give them at least a way to where to go forward from this. And I'm hoping you guys got a lot of information and that was helpful and beneficial. And you could always get back to us, ask more questions, sign up for a consultation that Rick offered, gives you a lot of insight. He'll provide you with a lot of insight and answer some of the additional questions that you might have. And I'm looking forward to see you on our additional webinars. We have another webinar coming up next week with for pediatrics, for those that are more experienced, and we usually do live on Instagram. So if you're following us, you will see all the new information coming up. But thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the evening. Rick, thank you to you. I don't know if you want to say something in the end.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I thank you for spending your Tuesday night with me, and I hope you got a lot out of this. If you have any additional questions, you can either find us online at tier3media.com or use that link, and we'll send kind of a follow-up with all the slides, so you don't have to remember everything and write it all down. You're going to have everything from tonight. So thank you very much for having me, Natalia.
Thank you, Rick.